Hi, I'd like to talk to you briefly about research and the op-ed. So the first point that we have to remember or consider is that your op-ed is an argument, right? It is your opinion, although you have to back up that opinion. So because it's an argument, you're actually providing a series of claims. You have a claim about the existence of a cultural narrative, and then you have a claim about your position regarding that, and you have claims that kind of complicate that or add to it, etc. And so really, right, you've got these series of claims, likely anywhere between 3 and 4 claims, and each of those claims then needs to be evidenced. And so if we look here at this little chart, there's a way of thinking about this assignment that I hope clarifies how research works and what research is. So if we imagine that for many of you, the first thing that you're doing in your piece is basically just telling us that this cultural myth or narrative exists, we'll realize that that is essentially a claim that you're making. And so that claim can be supported, but really it can be supported by anecdotal examples or real world experiences, because in a sense, all you're doing is reminding the audience of what they're already aware of. We all know that these narratives exist. And so I'm not demanding that at the beginning of your op-ed, you're bringing in all of this outside research. Now, as you move through your piece, as we think about your second claims and your third claims, it gets a little bit more complicated, because here you're building your case about the existence of the narrative. And so I am going to ask that you bring in some outside research that provides support for the claim that you're making. I ask that because the outside research generalizes the claim that you're making. In that, we're bringing in research that's not just supporting the idea that this claim exists for an individual. Instead, we're bringing in support that helps us show that this claim exists for a number of people, or this claim exists in general. Now, at the same time, because you have to think about the rhetorical effectiveness, I imagine that you will also use anecdotal support and or real world support. So you're coupling these in a way. And one way of thinking about it is that you can often bring in a real world example, because that serves to relate to the audience, and then you can back up that real world example with outside research, and that helps you then build a strong case. So I've given you this kind of little way of thinking here, in that near the beginning you can use anecdotal support. In the body of this thing, I imagine you're going to be using some research-based support and the anecdotal support. And as you get to the end, especially if you're just kind of drawing a conclusion, you can use anecdotal support that relates to the audience. So in general, we're thinking that folks are going to have anywhere between 2 and 4 pieces of outside research, depending, although I'm careful to say you must have this number. Now, the question is, where do you find the outside research? And the answer is twofold. I understand that for a lot of you, you're probably going to end up using Google, and I understand that. But if you're finding research from Google, I would hope that you'd fact check. You'd make sure that the website from which you're gathering your information is a credible website. Secondly, I imagine you can use some of the library databases. So I've given you access to this library page because this library page gives you some information on what to consider should you decide to use Google. I have a fact-checking 101 video that I've put in here, and so it gives you a way of thinking about the credibility of the website that you're using. Also, on this library website, I've given you some links to some library databases, like newspaper databases, opposing viewpoints in context. And these are databases that are going to pull not academic journal articles, but instead credible popular newspapers and magazines that can give you access to information that can help for this assignment. So here is a resource for you to consider should you need it, so that you can make sure that the outside research that you do bring in is credible research. Hope this helps. Take care.